I think confidence is a big problem. I think what you've done with the zone is, I think, is a gift and a treasure at the same time.
To the Living in the Zone podcast. I'm your host, Zone Coach Jim Fannin. I've coached champions in life, business, and sports for 50 years with a proprietary thought management system that I discovered called SCORE. Every guest on this show has been in what we call a zone state, a purposeful, calm feeling where nothing can go wrong. And you're performing at your highest level. Our special guest today is Aleks Mihailovic, a true pioneer in American soccer. Aleks was a standout player at the college and professional ranks. Transitioning from player to coach, he founded the prestigious Soccer Made in America training program and the Soccer Academy for Excellence. Both are dedicated to developing youth soccer talent across the country. This is a conversation you won't want to miss right here on Living in the Zone. Aleks Mihailovic, welcome to the show. When I got to Chicago from Columbus, Ohio, in the early 80s, I saw a full-page ad in the Tribune, and I was blown away. I got to meet this Aleks guy that's got soccer, just cornered the market in junior soccer, because that ad in the Tribune had over 100 and some, maybe 120 locations where you were doing camps all over Chicagoland. That was amazing, and that's when I went, I got to meet that guy because he's got the finger on the pulse of really what the kids need and what the parents need, and your career has spanned longer than that. You started off, Aleks, in the North American Soccer League as a player. You went on to totally get into coaching. I did similar things in my career, play, and then next thing you know, I'm a coach. When that happened with the Chicago Tribune, you got more pub than anybody in soccer, including the professional teams. What was that about?
It was a great timing because I think the outdoor league eventually after '84 folded, so it wasn't back on for 10 years till '94. After '94 World Cup, so '95 is the first MLS inaugural season. But between '84, when the league ended, and MLS started, Soccer Made in America training programs were keeping the name in front of the public. There was the indoor game going on, but what was done with the training camps and the media took hold of the concept. It elevated the game and kept it in front until MLS came.
And you created a whole new group of fans, people that never played soccer.
Correct.
There are a lot of beginners in that. Weren't they sometime introduction to the sport?
In many ways, because the parents did not grow up with the game. The kids wanted to play the game, but there was very poor coaching at the time. And what we did was elevate both technical, tactical awareness of the game and mostly through proper body mechanics. And that kind of resonated because mechanics. Same thing in baseball.
Sure.
I crew hits the ball the same way that I show how somebody to lay the ball off or control it. Same mechanics.
So you went in and captured all the publicity. What did the powers that were in the pro sports, what did they think of Aleks right off the bat?
Well, Lee Stern was not very happy with me because the Chicago Sting at the time were getting very, very small publicity.
Now, he owned the Sting?
He owned the Chicago Sting, and he was part owner of the White Sox. And Lee for years was not happy with me, and I've done nothing to him but absolutely.
But build a fan base
for him, yeah. But it wasn't used properly, in my opinion. However, things turned when January his daughter came to a camp in Hinsdale, brought her son Samson to the camp, and all of a sudden the kid goes to the grandpa and he goes, "And I want you to meet my coach," and he found out it was me, and then little by little we became very close friends.
Wow,
he's a wonderful man.
Wow, I love that story because you know soccer made in America. That's something that wasn't happening in the 80s, even the 90s, maybe even now. You know, when we're thinking about soccer, we're thinking about obviously Europe, South America, the rest of the world but us. Why is it taking so long for it to just grab? There's so many kids that have played this now. Now, it's in high schools now. It wasn't before in high schools. Well, sometimes it's even bigger than football and basketball.
Apple TV has changed it, bringing Messi in, and MLS have brought him together. A relationship partnership to bring him in, and things are just rocketed. The owners are making money in every franchise.
That's never happened.
No.
Did the Chicago Fire make any money? I was coaching Chris Armas and those guys. I don't think it was making big money at that.
Peter Novak as well. You coached. I don't know, but I know the former owner. Before Joe Mansueto, who took over the Fire a few years back, I'm not sure how much money he made, other than I think he got the franchise for like less than 10 million, 20 million. Now it sold it for like $500 million.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it deserves it. I mean, it is the world sport, the number one sport. More kids are playing it. It's easy to get started. It's not easy to master. That's obvious. But what a change. So, when did your kids start getting into soccer? What age? Your kids?
I would say 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
Now that intrigues me because I did a research project on maximizing super learning, and I know that in the first 60 months you learn more in that time than the rest of your life accumulative. What would you do with your son?
Take away the computers. Take the video game away.
Can you come back and help us do that?
Man,
now take away social media, TikTok and Snapchat and all these other that just really doesn't help focus and concentration. So what were some of the things you would do with him?
Well, with Georgie, when he was about a year and a half, when he started walking into the ball, just a touch in the ball, relationship to the foot, with the foot, and then slowly watch, and allow him to watch everything, from the highest level all the way to the beginning.
And you would take him with him everywhere with games.
Yeah, him, Alexander. Alexander she played University of New Mexico, and she was Lobo, and Georgie signed out of high school with the Chicago Fire.
That must have been a dream come true. That must have been, oh my goodness, my kid is now going to be MLS with the Fire. Yeah. Tell me about that. How'd you feel about that? That's truly soccer made in America.
I saw him, Jimmy, and you're going to appreciate this. I saw him when he was really young. We're down in Melbourne Beach in Florida, and it was like 92 degrees, 93 degrees, and there was an area with rocks and shells, and he would go over to this little area and take the rock and start throwing it into the ocean. And it caught me. Like 30 minutes later, he's still throwing the rocks in there. Now, 45 minutes later, Georgie wants some water. He comes and gets water, goes back and starts throwing rocks in there. So his focus and concentration was, I'm like,
unusual.
Yeah.
Compared to all the other kids, all the tens of thousands of kids you coach, your own son actually stood out.
Yeah, and he had something else. We in a camp, a small-sided game, 4v4, something like that. His team would lose, and he started crying at 5 years old. And then next time he gets back on the field, team lose, he'd start crying again. He'd sit on the ball, he cries. Third time around, his team would win. He's freaking going crazy. So he hated losing. So he already started competitive, mindset.
And wanted to learn from the loss.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time. And he would just sit there and observe. I would take him to a Fire game, when Peter Novak was playing and Chris, and he'd be just scanning the field the entire 90 minutes. Other kids are jumping around up and down to all kinds of noise. But
well, let's talk about him as a dad, because not only growing up with you and with soccer locally, he's a big deal now with the Colorado.
He is.
The highest paid player on that team, and that must be exciting.
Well, I'm happy for him because he was sold from Chicago to Montreal, and Montreal sold him to a club in Amsterdam, in Holland. And a year ago, we went to visit him for the first time, and my wife was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And we didn't tell him until we got back, and the minute he found out, he was checked out. He wanted to come home, and it took 6 months to get him out of there. But the agent was outstanding and fought tooth and nail. We got him out of that contract, and Colorado wanted to rebuild the team, and he's very happy.
That was a down time for you, though.
It was terrible time. It was really tough on the family. It was tough on him being away. My daughter lives down in Florida, so it was hard on her. And, but things are going pretty good now, so I'm happy.
Well, now with him in Colorado, there's a new thing that's happening in Colorado. Grandpa.
Yeah, that's right. He's expecting a baby. Yeah, that's another thing. So all these things came.
When's that happening?
Any minute.
Any minute, right now during the show. Oh, if you get a call, you're out of here.
I'm calling.
You got to go.
Yeah.
How excited? Boy, girl?
Boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a grandpa of a little boy who's totally locked into sports, and I'm having a blast, even though it's long distance on FaceTime. What a treat to be able to do that.
But thank you. But Georgie is a replica of what I work with all the kids across the country, especially the teams that I work with. All psychosocial first, and technical and tactical and physical components, all in every practice, every game, because they recycle. And you can't teach them one or the other or the other. You have to combine them into one, because those moments in the game, training has to reflect it. So if the practice reflects the game, you'll be more comfortable in those moments, which are the deciding moment is a key moment. That's what we're preparing for.
So let's talk about living in the zone.
Yeah.
The zone is that purposeful, calm feeling where you feel nothing can go wrong. And it's a zone state that, like a rubber band, you can stretch it. And it can last an entire game. It can last a series. It can last a month. I've seen it. But living in the zone, it's not the competitive side of the zone. It's just being the best son you can be, the best brother you can be, or sister or daughter. The mental component, you and I have talked about that quite a bit. What's happening with the mental side of soccer?
It is a moment, the zone that you're referring to, it's the moment you feel you can do anything. You can achieve you can feel unstoppable. You control the game. You dictate the narrative. I mean, you feel empowered that nobody can stop you.
There's another little thing that also happens. Your eyes can double, sometimes triple shutter speed, and all of a sudden those passing lanes, those attack lanes, they just seem bigger and more easy. Than ever before. The goal seems huge. That's pretty exciting.
So, Jim, to take your thoughts and training that you provided, to relate this to the game is not played with feet. Feet are just a component of execution of the skill, right? But your mind is the key. When you're playing 360, you have to have 360 vision, right? When you're in this zone, you see everything. You're playing in the future. Before the ball gets to you, you have 15 options before you get the ball. Right? The way you develop those skills is that on the average of 10 seconds, 7 times you have to check your left shoulder, right shoulder. That means players who are predominantly right-footed or left-footed, they're going to go to that side. They're going to gravitate. So they're 180. That means that if they're right-footed, they're going to shift to the right. They're not checking the left side, and that's you losing half the opportunity. So fighting the right pass, the right choice, right decision. When you have this awareness, and kids are taught just focus on dribbling and so on, and now focus on seeing the game, seeing the environment. This is what gets you from left side to right side to left side, backwards to sideways. So 360.
And intuition is real-time information that your conscious mind does not possess. And that is the edge that the top players, Messi.
Difference maker.
If you talk about Messi coming in and changing MLS with sellout crowds, that's a zoniac. That's a total zone performer. Give me your observation of Messi. You've seen him, obviously, in Europe. You've seen him in person. Tell me about Messi, because he's just changed American soccer.
Georgie played against him 2 weeks ago in Miami, so I got to see him. I've seen him before. And the difference with Messi is that he thinks in the future. He sees everything way, way before he sees the ball. The second point, his physical attributes are dictated by the foot speed that he has. Maradona had it. Messi definitely has it. Pelé had it. Johan Cruyff had it.
Ronaldo
has it, of course. Peter Novak had it when he played with the Fire. He was a fantastic
player. That's
player.
Another, when Peter came to me, he was considering retiring. He said, I think I'm done. And I go, do you think you're done, or do you not think you're done? If you think you're done, you're done. And he said, well, that's why I'm going to talk to you about it. And he made a commitment. I'm going to be the MVP 2 years in a row. That was pre-thought. Mm-hmm. And he thought about it all the time. I said, well, then you need to act like it all the time. You can't just do it when the game's on the line. You got to be that off the field. And he was smoking cigarettes at the time. I go, if we're going to do this, I think you need to cut that back a little bit. And he did. He did change it. You know Peter really well.
He's a good guy.
Tell me about his game and how he helped the Fire.
He's a player that, again, sees the entire
Polish
field.
Player.
Right.
Polish national team.
He's a player that sees the entire field. He's unselfish. He's a hard worker. And he hates losing. So you have technical, tactical, physical, and psychosocial component built into one.
Yeah, he was ideal for me to coach. And he would visualize the opposition before we got out there.
Absolutely.
How he was going to attack it. We did a lot of visualization as a midfielder. I mean, he totally saw the entire field. And you're right. He was one or two steps ahead. This will lead to this, will lead to this, and now I'll have an easy assist. Pretty amazing. And Chris Harmless the same.
Chris is a ball winner. He's the guy who played behind Peter. So everything went through. If players go by Peter, Chris was there to stop it. He's a holding midfielder. Very good. Anticipated extremely well. Tough as nails. He's a good guy. He allows his players now as a coach. He allows his players to play.
And in my life, it's come full circle because now he's coaching your son,
right? Which
is pretty surreal. How everything's just kind of come full circle.
I like Chris a lot.
Yeah, I'm excited about helping their entire team. So that's something on the forefront.
Good.
So tell me what you're doing now. Also, you've written some books, I believe.
I have, yeah.
Tell me about those.
I wrote for the '94 World Cup. I wrote the coaching manual, and then I wrote a Soccer Made in America manual, and I wrote 6 videos. But
how do we get a hold of those?
Just contact Soccer Made in America. I can.
Would it be soccermadeinamerica.com?
Yes.
Yeah. And get some insight on how you think and how you build a champion.
Yeah. And then I run a club called Chicago Blast. It's actually one of the most successful clubs in the country. We've won Disney tournament, which is a big one, prestigious tournament, like 38 times, almost 40 times down there. We took 6 teams to Michigan elite tournament 2 weeks ago, and 5 out of 6.
This is an adult club.
Oh, youth.
This is the youth club.
Starting from 5 years old to 18.
So they would be playing against some of the MLS clubs, like the Orlando City?
No, they would not. They would be playing locally here, and then regionally, and then nationally. Last year, the 2010s went to the national finals in Denver, and hopefully a couple teams can repeat this summer.
So how many kids, if you can go back in your memory, have you helped get a college scholarship? Because not everybody's going to make the World Cup.
Right.
Everybody would like to. Not everybody's going to be MLS. It might be 1% of all the kids you've coached, but I know you've helped kids win a state title in high school and definitely go to scholarships.
Right.
Tell me about that.
Well, there's a lot of players that went out to play college, and we've had 3 years ago, we had 3 former Chicago Blast players start for the Chicago Fire at Soldiers Field at the adult level, at the pro team. Olympic team players, national team players, both women and men players went to North Carolina to play for Anson. Brian McBride is one of the kids that first started out. Young, very young Brian. Walter Payton's son, Jared, was somebody that could have been a great soccer player, but because of that, he wanted to play football. And Indiana wanted him, everybody wanted him. And there's been generation, but through Soccer Meet in America and obviously the club and other appearances and so on, there's been close to 1 million kids that have been instructed through the last 45 years.
I got to repeat. 1 million kids. Yeah. You've had your imprint.
From just about every state in the United States. So the Tribune ads that you saw, a lot of those were just only local, but there were clinics in Canada, California, obviously all over the United States.
What a career. When you look back on your career, it's hard to believe it went by so quick. What are 3 highlights?
Great question. Number 1 is your methodology that you believe, and it's not the same for everybody because everybody's so built differently and see the game differently, see life differently, to bring out the best out of that player. The second is that these players who come to our programs understand how important physical work, focus that you need to be an athlete, and the skills that you have to perfect all relate to everything outside the field. Because on the field, you can see a player who's hardworking, honest, giving, and you can also see a selfish, not working at all, self-oriented. You see those personalities come out. And when you see those negatives in players, you eliminate or attempt to eliminate and put them on the right track. And now there's a huge following of former players, both from the camps and the club, that have been affected, influenced by this, and they all come back and
now they're helping you influence.
Yeah, and others, but also they're thankful for the impact that they've had because there's no messing around. The teams that I work with, if I believe in you, if I can bring out the best, I'm going to come after you, going out and perfect you as best as I can. I'm not going to babysit you. I am going to make you a soccer player, and those qualities you'll be able to take for the rest of your life.
I'm going to mention 5 qualities in our score system, and what I've seen in the last 40 years, kids have changed. They're not the same, especially since COVID, and I'm seeing some mental fragileness in the kids. What is the weakest link of the majority of kids? Would it be their self-discipline? Would it be their concentration? Would it be their confidence or optimism? Or the ability to relax, especially when the money's on the table and the next move or non-move could dictate the game? Or the enjoyment?
I think confidence is a big problem. I think what you've done with the zone is, I think, is a gift and a treasure at the same time. You've impacted, lack of confidence in players and people, individuals outside of sport. And can you imagine being a person that lacks confidence the rest of his or her life? So if players that are coached by you or people that are coached by you, and you change this perception in themselves, where they feel empowered, they can do anything. To me, that there is no. It's as good as medicine, right?
It transcends sports, definitely.
It changes people, Jim. And more into sports, it just brings them to life, right? Because your career is not going to be forever, in most cases, right? Unless you go into journalism or something like that, broadcasting. But what the gifts that you provide, using as a coach, motivational coach, that impacts. And so, and same thing with what we do, as coaches on the field. We it's not just about the game. Not everybody's going to be a professional soccer player or a college player or an Olympic team player or a national team player. You're going to be a soccer player or you can be an athlete and you can treat yourself. You learn how to eat well. You learn how to sleep better. You learn how to be focused in school. You know, there have been kids that were flunking out that I was able to bring back full circle and put him back.
Well, that's one thing I love about you. You know, if you want to bolster optimism, confidence, self-esteem, expectancy, a sense of knowing in your kids, your coach has got to walk around with that and lead by example. And you definitely do lead by example. I've seen you in groups, and I want to talk about another group. You asked me to come speak one day.
I'm glad you brought that up.
To one of your events, and it was near and dear to you. And how could I refuse? I wouldn't refuse, and I didn't refuse. And it's the Safe Foundation, and this is for underprivileged kids.
Correct.
Kids that just can't afford the money to travel, right. to sometimes even to survive. Tell me about SAFE and what is SAFE and what is the acronym SAFE? And
the SAFE Foundation is a not-for-profit organization. SAFE means Sacred Art for Education for underprivileged children, and we're here to help as much as we can.
I just love being part of it because I could feel the energy in that that meeting that you had where you brought a fundraiser actually for the organization.
Well, the speech that you gave, the people that were in attendance still talk about it and still bring up Jim Fenton as guest speaker. It was touching and it was right on cue for everything we believe in. So the SAFE was born out of a program in Cabrini Green. I came up with this thought to do a camp down at Cabrini Green back in the 80s, and Jim Rose from Channel 7, I brought it up to him, and Jim goes, I'm black and I don't go there. And I'm like, Jim, I'm going to do this thing.
I want to add just one thing. When I came to Chicago, I did a tennis clinic at Cabrini Green.
No way. What year was that?
1978. And it was crazy. And all of a sudden, gunshots went off, and they were ricocheting off the court. And it was like, oh, okay, check, please. We packed up and left. We literally got shot out of Cabrini Green. I'm lucky nothing happened. But for you to go in there, I went in there.
Yeah, it was interesting because there's a Seward Park. There's projects like an Angle, as you remember.
Yeah.
Kevin Duckworth did the midnight basketball. Jesse White did the tumbling thing to keep the community going outside of violence.
Yeah.
Great guy. And I did the soccer program. But the initial stages it was pretty interesting because literally the park had to talk to the people that some gangster stuff were over there and shooting and all that.
And Cabrini Green it was part of the Chicago Housing Authority with Vince Lane, so you probably met him, who was running it. But that entire complex was kids raising kids. So the moms are like 16, 17, 18-year-old young women having babies. And you couldn't ride on the elevator unless you paid a toll. You had to actually pay a toll. So old ladies were lugging groceries 10 stories up. And
it was humanitarian disaster.
It really
terrible.
was.
It was the saddest thing I've seen.
But what came out of that?
What came out of it was the biggest reward one of the biggest rewards that I have acquired in my life, because what happened was when we set the program up, I had a sponsorship with Gatorade, and Gatorade provided, I think, 3,000 T-shirts, 3,000 little bags, and 3,000 water bottles for the kids that went to our regular camp. So when we set the camp, literally the park people had to talk to the gangsters and say, no, time out, give us a day off, give us a week off, because you said the crossfire over there between the projects, they were like this and they were going crazy against each other, and it was sad. It was terrible. And grass was up to here. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm going to do a camp here? He goes, yeah, that's what we have. I said, okay, we're going to cut it for you. Okay. We have to talk to the people who stopped the feuding for a few days.
You actually had to cut the grass.
Had to cut the grass.
It was that high.
It was like waist high. It was terrible. And like you said, it was bullets, like laying, it was shells laying there. They had to clean all that stuff up. Well, anyways, so we get this thing. The traffic in Chicago, as you know, is a nightmare. I get there, and I'm thinking it's going to be 50, 60 kids. 500 kids show up. Buses coming up. All my coaches are delayed in the traffic in Eisenhower. Now what I'm going to do over here with 500 kids, I'm like, buses are coming in from all over. They're all lining up.
Coaches haven't shown up. It's just you.
Just me, 500 kids.
All right, everybody, get in line. Form a 500 line.
So, anyways, the guys get there. We start the program. And the next day I had to get more coaches, And the second day, there was a little kid that is always getting in trouble. So I get one coach comes and goes, coaches, the kid is fighting with beating up on these little kids. It's a small little thing, fighting with anybody. It doesn't matter what size. Another guy goes, coach, I can't do nothing with this kid. Can you do something? So I go over there, I say, hey, what's going on here? I look at him. He's not looking at me. He's afraid. He's looking down. I said, why are you fighting? Doesn't say anything. I said, go over there, just play. Come on, have some fun. 5 minutes later, the kid's beating the crap out of this other kid and pounding his head in, right? I said, all right, what's going on here? Why are you fighting? And the kid looks at me and goes, you took my bug. I go, what? Yeah, you took my bug. I said, you fighting over a bug? He goes, yeah. I said, go back and play. 10 minutes later, same kid, same scenario. I said, all right, what happened now? He took my rock. I said, what do you mean you took your rock? I said, why are you fighting over a rock? He goes, because it's the only thing I have to play with.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. How sad is that? Oh, my goodness. But I've seen that.
So what do you do with that? So the next phone call was to Jim Fox over at Gatorade, the sporting director. The Jim, I said, I need 500 T-shirts, 500 bags, and 500 water bottles. He goes, Alex, I gave you everything we have.
And 500 rocks.
No rocks.
No rocks.
I said, Jim, come on, you got to give it to me. He goes, Alex, I don't have it. So Guy Tribune comes out, does a focus page in the back of the sports section, full blown now. Gatorade all over the place. Right? I took all the stuff that I allocated for regular camps, brought it, decked everybody out, bottles, bags, T-shirts. Tribune comes out, and Jim Rose sends Channel 7 crew to come out. He didn't live too far from Cabrini Green, so he goes to the office. If you know, the Gatorade building downtown is not that far from there. And he's walking, and he looks over, and there's a kid walking around with a Gatorade T-shirt. Then he sees another one. He goes to the office, picks up the Tribune, looks at the sports section. It's all splashed all over there. He calls me, is this what you were talking about? I go, yeah. He goes, well, you have your 500 T-shirts, bags, and bottles. I said, okay, thanks, Jim.
I love it. Well, you're a solution-oriented person. And you have to be. And not a survivor, you're a thriver. And you're always looking off into the future. You've been the visionary, no question, in my mind, in soccer in the Midwest. And there's other soccer academies. I get that. But when I spoke to SAFE and got to talk to some of these kids, I had a couple of kids come up and volunteer of some of the things I was showing them. That really struck me. You're more than a soccer coach. You really are. So much more than that. And a soccer visionary. But you care about the underdog big time.
Very much.
And there's plenty of them. And the success is there. Scholarships, making an MLS team, playing in the World Cup, winning a state championship. All those accolades, they started with you.
Well, appreciate it, but there is definitely a system of training that is extremely, extremely effective, and people make mistakes.
You should have the hang of it. But now you've been doing that system as long as I've known you, and you've honed that, and it's proven.
It's proven, and it's not going to go away because there are some things just like alphabet doesn't change. It just repeats itself. Every day we use the alphabet, right? It doesn't change. It's the same, but what we do with it is the key, and the body mechanics that are incorporated in our training is all about correlation of upper body versus lower body, and usually coaches allow negative habits to form because in all sports agility and grace is the ultimate expression, right? But before you get there, you have to know how to correlate the upper body to work with it, so it's not fighting each other. And when you start from that base and then you continue to teach the game and you coordinate the two, you get perfection.
I think one of the things you've done is repetition.
Well,
I think a lot of coaches just abandon repetition. But, your kids are only as good as what they think and how they perform when you're not there.
Correct.
And so when those basics are instilled and all of a sudden now they've become natural, and on the mental side, we look to blend our techniques with your techniques and supplement them and in many cases hopefully enhance them with visualization and self-awareness. But your relentless teaching of the basics, it really shows up eventually. The cream rises to the top.
It works at all levels. You just, players that are at a professional level. I took a professional indoor team that was, I think 5-15, and when I took them, they made it to the playoffs. So they completely flipped it around. Just small details, both managing of players, understanding, teaching them the roles, and freedom of expression in right moments. It's important to know the game, because if you don't know the game, you really can't teach it unless you become a student of the game. And regardless if you played it, there's some great coaches that never played some games.
That's another thing I love about you. You've been a student of this game. You're constantly learning something. We've had those discussions, and I just love that about you, and I feel the same way personally.
I learned from you, Jim. I mean, you're what you've done here. I mean, your office, people need to see your office. How many people you've touched at all different levels of sports and other areas of living. It's insane what your wall looks like. People need to see that.
Yeah,
because you don't.
When I walk by my wall, the first thing I want to do is go take a nap. I want to go lay down and take a nap. This is our 50th year of the score system, really. And so that's why I'm looking to take it more to the masses. That's why I'm really looking to corroborate with you and what we can do together. I'm excited just to always be with an expert, which you are, and a champion, which you are, and now a new grandfather. So that's another thing you and I are going to have in common. We're going to spoil the crap out of our kids, and that's exciting. So what's new for Soccer Made in America?
There is an equestrian center down in Lakeland, Florida. I'm going to try to do a camp there. I was supposed to go to Kansas City to do a super advanced camp, but all these things with the baby coming and Georgie moving to Denver, we postponed it. And then just keep going. We have some relationship in Saudi Arabia that want to be. They want to develop a relationship with us. They're sending players from Saudi Arabia here, but they want us to come out and conduct some training there. I did this in Shenzhen in China a few years back, and it was extremely effective. So, there's really, every time you step on the field, it feels like a new adventure. It's insane. I felt this, 40 years ago. I feel the same thing. It has.
You still have that passion.
I have not lost it. It's insane. People can't believe it.
So what do you do to get away from the game and refuel and replenish expended energy? What do you do to live in the zone?
I like to go fishing, whenever I can. But when I can go on vacation for 2 days, and I can't handle it anymore. I got to be back in the field.
You and I need to go fishing. Yeah, I haven't fished in a while. Yeah,
I'm going to go to Colorado. Went fishing with Georgie about a month ago. And
did you go fly fishing?
I don't know how to fly fish.
Oh, man.
I know.
You will love fly fishing. I know. Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
I did camp in Idaho Falls in Idaho for like 12 years. And the people there, it's amazing what, how many people you touch through the game. The game provides opportunity to meet people all over the United States, all over the world. And the trout fishing in Idaho Falls is on Snake River is amazing.
I haven't done that, but that sounds like a zone experience.
It is.
It is.
I can get away. I can get away there when I think about the game when I had fishing.
So how do we get in touch with you regarding Safe Foundation? Because your stories of who you've helped, and especially the underprivileged. I mean, when I spoke to the group, I was honored to do that, and it was a privilege to do that. But what I felt from the group was their love for you and a love for everything that you've given them, and that was underprivileged kids. If someone wanted to contribute to SAFE, how do we go?
I can give a phone number. Is that okay?
Sure.
630-257-6900. It's our Soccer Made in America, Chicago Blast and Safe Foundation number.
Come with your credit card. Let's help the underprivileged kids.
The thing about that is you hit a right tone, because that foundation and that organization is a very special place in my heart. We had families in Cicero, Illinois, that had a mother, a son, and a daughter, no father, living with 10 men in a roof in a little house with a friggin' hole in the roof. And when I found out, the boy's name is Rigoberto. He ended up going to Liberty University on a college scholarship. We helped pay for that roof. And
my goodness.
And then
Alex.
Yeah, and then we brought the boy and the mom and put him in an apartment in Hinsdale. And it changed the entire life for them. The daughter and the mom and the boy. And Rigo lives in San Diego now. He's got a college degree.
Wow.
The daughter has a college degree.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. He just reached out to me because he looked at some of my records as playing college, and so he was shocked. He couldn't believe it. I never talk about myself to my players. So that's how we connected, and I was so happy to hear from him. But he's thankful, grateful, and we've touched so many people like that.
There's another subject, parents. Sometimes you got to wake up and realize when you're coaching youth sports, I'm in the parent business and I'm in the mom business. If mom's happy, everybody's happy. If mom's not, she's usually the one driving and organizing. I'm not talking about underprivileged. I'm talking about in all the camps that you had. Are parents more nuts today with their kids, or are they? What's the state of the union of parents in the world of soccer?
We have none of that. We literally don't have it, because everything is explained. Up front. If you're working hard, we have levels. For example, in our club, Chicago Blast, we have levels. We have developmental level, beginning level. We have mid-level, advanced, and then we have extra competitive teams that play in national tournaments and fight for the national championship. We won 4 national championships with a smaller club. The thing about the parents is that everything laid out. On the top team, you have to fight to get inside the lineup. You have to fight for your playing time. I'm not giving it to you. You earn it. Okay? It doesn't mean you guarantee a spot next week. You have to fight for it. You do this in training. It starts in practice. You fight in practice, you're going to have a good chance of playing. The mid-level and lower-level teams, they're guaranteed to play 50% of the time. And I've had coaches pull kids out and not play them enough, and they got reprimanded. But with our top teams, you have to learn how to compete. Because if you can't compete, you're not going to be prepared for life outside the field.
No especially way. Today, competition is more ferocious than ever before.
And, there are things that don't change. Like I said, the alpha doesn't change, work ethics. To work, to be successful, it doesn't feel right when it's given to you. It feels much better when it's earned.
You're one of the few coaches in the United States, maybe globally, that has told me, and I talk to coaches all day long, don't have any challenge with the parents. And I think you hit it on the head. You tell them up front, here's how the deal is, here's how it's going to work. But you also say, I'm in charge of your kid. Thank you for allowing me to do that. But you do take charge.
You have to. And, there are sometimes parents obviously want to see a kid play, but I'm going to ask them, what has he done to deserve it over another child? And then if you show me
because we always think our kid's better.
I will exactly. I will surrender. I will play him 100% of the time. If he's scoring 2-3 goals a game and like the other kid is, then I'm not taking him off. But if he's dribbling out of bounds or passing the ball to the other team, making the other team look better, sorry, there's somebody else in. Because we have, 18 spots on a team, for example, and 11 on the field. The other 7, you have to fight your way in. And there are moments where everybody's going to get an opportunity, multiple opportunities. Now it's up to retain it, sustain it, and keep going. And one child may be working a little bit harder off the field than you are. Maybe that's why he's in the field. Another child may be quicker thinking, more adaptive, more disciplined, more focused. Maybe that's why he's playing more.
When you're doing your winter programs, are you made, do parents or the kids make you aware of their grades, their academics?
Oh, great point. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We had kids. I had a situation with a boy in our club. He was getting ready to toss out of school and throw him out. The parents were going through a divorce, and the kid was rebelling.
Oh, that's tough.
And he went to school and getting fights, and I called up the principal. I said, "What's going on here?" He goes, "Philip is getting, he's a bully, he's this, he's that." I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, what have you done about it?" And he said, "What do you mean?" "We're suspending him." I said, "Well, anybody can suspend anybody. Anybody can give you a red card during the game, but are you able to maybe settle the mood down a little bit, emotions? Do you find out what's going on in his life?" He goes, "No." I said, "Well, maybe we should start there. Why don't you find out what's going on with the kid's life? And then maybe we can talk next week. So call me next week. I guarantee you right now that Philip's not going to get in a fight because I'm going to talk to him." So I talked to the boy. I said, "You have to be a role model in the next several weeks. And otherwise you're not playing." So 2 weeks comes. Principal calls me up. "I don't know what happened. Philip is a role model, a great student." I said, "Really? Did you guys find out what happened to his life, personal life?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, maybe you should have done that a few months back and not blackball."
That's one of the things I love about you, Aleks, is that you care about the whole person, not just, passing and scoring, and obviously to win, those things are important. But we're seeing, and I'm seeing personally coaching young kids, that an hour of algebra and an hour of soccer, it's the same focus. One's more fun than the other. One's moving, one's just sitting and doing it. But we've seen concentration drop like a stone across the board, mainly because of social media. That hasn't helped our kids at all, I don't think, being on the TikTok and Snapchat and all that. But a true champion is a great student, great to themselves, just a great person, not just a great footballer or soccer player. And I know that's your philosophy, and it shows. It shows, and that's why you have so many kids flocking to get into your programs.
Jim, there was an example that I learned a long time ago. It was a teaching job and assistant athletic director at Stevenson High School up in Lancashire. I just got over an injury, got my first job, and retired. And I was the PE teacher got sick, and I had to take over for like a month. There was a boy who kind of reminded me of Eric Soderholm's son. Long hair, different, back then, right? And Eric's a great guy, by the way. I love Eric.
He's right behind you. His
friend.
picture's right. Yeah,
I love that guy. Eric's the best. This guy's real, real. There was a kid in his class, and I'm like looking at this kid. I go, "Why are you coming late?" And he goes, "And why aren't you trying?" And he goes, "Well, they're gonna give me an F anyway, so why should I try?" So what do you mean they're gonna give you? He goes, "They," meaning the school,
the powers that be.
Powers to be. And I'm like, listen, tell you what, next 3-4 weeks is when I have to turn the grade. We start fresh today. You come here, you tuck your shirt in, look like the rest of the group, come on time, and I'm going to give you a high grade. He goes, "No, you're not." I say, "Kid, look at me. I'm going to give you a high grade if you do this." This kid was coming in 10, 15 minutes before class. He was a role model 4 weeks later, I give the kid a B or an A. I forget what it was. I think it was an A. My athletic director comes to me and goes, "What the hell did you do to this? This kid's a bum. This is a disaster. How can you give this kid an A?" I said, "Listen, this kid did everything I asked him to do these last 4 weeks. No, you have to give him an F." I said, "I'm not giving him an F." So he calls up Dr. DeFore, who was the principal at the time. The guy's a national high school, big time educator. And he goes, "Alex, this kid traditionally," I said, "that's the problem. Traditionally, is behind us. He did everything, Dr. DeFore, he did everything I asked this child to do. Everything was done."
Well, I've said this, Alex, for 50 years. A great teacher sees an A student when everybody else sees him a failure.
Exactly that. Exactly. He goes, "No, we have the director. No, he's enough." He goes, "I'll give him a D." I said, "What do you mean you're going to give him that? You were not a teacher in this class."
Wow.
So Dr. DeFore goes, "Alex, we're going to compromise. We're going to give him a C." I said, "Okay." The kid comes to me and goes, "Coach, I told you they're going to do this to me." And I don't know what to say to this kid.
Wow.
And that was the moment the soccer made in America was born. Because something like that cannot go on. I can't stomach that. I can't witness that. Right? So I turned in my resignation 2 weeks later. I took a team that was 1-15 the year before. They went 15 and on with me and as a coach. The mothers went berserk. The kids went berserk. High school kids, the soccer team. They called in the principal. They called in the athletic director. They wanted to fire the athletic director. And I said, look, this is a great school. It's a great institution. It's a privilege for me to work here. But I need to go on. And I kind of leveled it off, so they kind of came to meeting. But that moment was really what Soccer Made in America got born, because now I knew that I had to do something else and I had a different gift.
You've impacted so many lives. I'm sure you're having parents come back with their little kids, and they were in your classes in the 80s. And tell me about that. It's coming full circle.
It's a heartwarming moment when that happens. It's happened a lot lately. The last 2 years, it's been happening a lot.
We can't be that old, though.
No, I don't see it like that. I just see it as a continuation. It's especially as lady out of Buffalo Grove. The dad brought his daughter for me to train from Buffalo Grove, because Stevenson's, up in Lickshire, Buffalo Grove area, and remembers the work that was done there. And, with all the kids, they wanted the daughter, and she's a good little player, so I trained her a little bit.
So right now, I want you to believe that the best young soccer players in America are listening to you right now. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give them?
There's a term called deceptive simplicity. Right? Something on a field that looks so easy, right? Messi makes it look easy, for example, but it's not. Players overcomplicate. Take an extra touch, extra dribble, head down, right? And one player receives the ball before the ball's played to him, and the ball's already played out. So thinking ahead, playing in the future is learning how to play the game. The sooner you learn this, the quicker you're going to become a better player. Same thing in life, right? Opposite field, the quicker you think, anticipate issues and problems, the quicker you'll be able to solve them.
Yeah, Messi sees the game holistically from above, like he's playing chess.
David Beckham, same thing.
Same thing. So teaching young kids to think like that, that's a life changer.
Jokic, right? The center for Denver, thinks ahead.
He does. He's always thinking ahead, always making the right pass or taking a shot himself.
He sees the floor. He sees the floor. Again, thinking the future, playing the future.
But that can be taught.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
It starts the early environment, right? Because when you go from 5 years old, when you start playing in some kind of organized group, by the time 11 to 14 are called the golden ages. What you're going to learn between 11 and 14 is going to govern the rest of your playing career. Okay. However, your fundamental blocks have to be in place between 5 or 6, I should say, 6 and 11. So your technical components have to be in place. You have to understand how to play the game.
Which one of these would they understand the holistic strategy and tactics? You teach that early?
From 11 to 14, the tactical game starts, and then from 14 to 18. By the time you're 16, usually aspiration professional player, that's a dividing line on the average. If you're not good enough to play at a pro level at 16, then you're a college player.
Do you ever see someone that's not at that level and goes to college and then changes in college?
Yeah, goalkeepers.
Goalkeeper.
Yeah, a lot. Defenders, a lot. The physical attributes and how their appetite for perfecting, technical execution from between those ages can get them driving through. But if they're fast, strong, physical, there are players in the U.S. national team right now who went through those phases and become very good.
So who's going to win the MLS Cup this year? What do you see?
Columbus Crew is a really good coach. He was a coach of my son's team in Montreal. Really good coach. They have a strong group. It's usually a team that has a really good administration organization.
Top down.
Top down. I wish it was Chicago Fire, but hopefully in a year or two they'll turn things around.
Yeah, I was here when we won the Cup a couple of times, and I was totally part of that. That's so exciting. And of course, your son is on the team that really has flipped Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado was dead last. I mean, they weren't very good last year record-wise, and I think they're like third now.
Yeah, third or fourth. Yeah, right now.
That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, thank you so much for being on the show. You are a bright light for any parent out there that has your kid in a soccer program. You need to be influenced by Aleks Mihailovic. You've influenced me in so many ways, and what a pleasure to know you and be a good friend of yours for decades. And you got a lot going forward, and I'm excited about watching it.
Well, you're a dear friend, and I love your staff. They're special. I think staff is an extension of somebody that's at the top. Can't do everything by yourself. I think the program is going to be phenomenal. I'll do everything I can to promote it because you've touched so many people in such a high level of changing their game, of confidence and believing themselves. That I hope that the staff that's underneath you, with you right now, will be able to continue to carry this the rest of their life.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the show, and you got to come back.
I will.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for watching or listening to Living in the Zone podcast. Make sure that you subscribe so you can be up to date on all of our information and content. Go to zonecoach.com where you're going to learn more on how we can help you live your life, business, or sport in the zone.